Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen with everybody. Okay. Where is the... All right, guys. So, I mean, I would say that we, for the most part, we know, you guys know who we are, and we know for the most part who most of you guys are that are on this call. But we thought it'd be cool to just, better introduce ourselves and kind of give you a little knowledge on some good nutrition, and hopefully you guys get a couple good ideas from this. And especially for the athletes, it's something that we don't really drill in on enough, that I think it's been important that we really get something out there for the athletes. And it's definitely something that the adults can benefit from as well, and also take to their athletes, since a lot of our current clients do have their children training with us. For anyone who does not know, I am Simone and this is Steph, and we run Snap Nutrition. Snap Nutrition is Snap Nutrition pretty much is a customized nutrition program that helps tailor a meal plan to the client, and depending on what their goals are. Obviously, everybody has different goals and everybody reacts differently to plans. So Snap Nutrition is a really great way to do that in the healthiest way possible. So we teach you how to do that. I've worked with some of you personally. I'm sure Steph has as well. And yeah. Sorry. Also, for some of our athletes, we did this mainly to promote the nutrition program to the current athletes that are in our training block at the moment. The new training block will actually be starting next week. So we do have some of those that were signed up that did want to participate in this Zoom call tonight. So I did put in the chat, I'm going to put it again just in case you don't see it, but if you are interested in getting set up for open enrollment, it does start next week. We always have limited spots. So I sent the link in case you want to get your kids signed up, or if your kids are on here, or you can always do it in person, but feel free to use that link to sign them up to get them started in training next week. So pretty much I'm just going to start off with my background. Let Steph go a little bit about her background, better explain who we are, and then we'll get right into the nutrition part of this Zoom call. I have been with Varsity House for about 7.5 years. About 6.5 years ago, I created, with the help of Joe and Dan, Snap Nutrition. I was doing it on my own for quite some time, and luckily now it's been about 2-3 years now. Steph has gone on board and really has been a big help with the program, and I know she's worked with some of you guys. I went to school at Montclair. I have a bachelor's in nutrition and food science. I have a precision nutrition level 1 certification. And pretty much I grew up in a family that had a lot of diabetics, and I was young when my sister was diagnosed with it. She was 7 years old. I was 8 years old. So I learned pretty quickly about what had the importance of insulin and how to give her insulin, and what foods needed to be more incorporated into the diet, what foods didn't need to be incorporated, and how certain foods were affecting their bodies. So I believe that really is a big reason why I pursued this kind of nutrition degree, and why I chose the nutrition and food science major when I got to school. Pretty much my lifestyle and my beliefs when it comes to nutrition is just, finding something that works for you, that's sustainable, that is realistic, and that just really incorporates good quality foods. I don't know if someone's drawing on there or not, but I don't know what that is, sorry. But yeah, pretty much just incorporating better quality foods, trying to remove a lot of packaged foods, packaged products. I like to try to make my own meals for the most part. And meal prep is something big for me, especially with the kind of work style we both have. We're really here a lot. We're here all day, and meal prep is a big part of that. But yeah, I also do believe in it having to be realistic in order for you to sustain it. So cheat meals are going to happen. I'm going to have a piece of pizza. I'm just like anybody else. But in general, I say the healthiest lifestyle, something that works for you and is sustainable, and it's really just incorporates the good quality foods that your body needs in order to properly function. And Steph, if you want to kind of talk a little bit about you.
Yeah, so my background is sort of similar, not so much, but I actually was an athlete throughout my whole life up until I got to college, and then I started playing just intramural. But for me, I ended up gaining a lot of weight in high school, as some of you may know, about like 60, 70 pounds total, just from not understanding nutrition in general and me thinking that my body's invincible. I play soccer, so 1,000-calorie burns like every game, every practice, whatever the case was, and not really knowing what to fuel my body with before and after, which is what I'll be talking about later on. But I lost 50 pounds. It took me about a year, so it was more moderated in that sense, and that's why I went to school for nutrition and food science also at Montclair, Simone, and I have my bachelor's in nutrition. I don't have anything else pertaining to it. I'm looking into more athletic aspects of nutrition as well, another certification or two. But overall, for me, I believe in more moderation is the best aspect with food, trying to find a healthy balance to everything that you're eating, not looking at food as good and bad. I think that was probably the biggest downfall for me. Losing weight took a while only because I tried to take the easy way out and the shortcut to everything. So a lot of these fad diets that you see out in the market right now or on social media, all the perceptions of what is nutrition, I try my best to tell everybody that moderation and being in a calorie deficit, no matter what, will end up getting you to your goals. If you're looking to maintain weight gain, it's all about building that relationship with food in a healthy manner, not as far as like kind of keeping yourself like, I can't eat that today, I have to eat a salad, and going to restaurants and feeling more restricted than a lot of other people. You know, treating yourself to an extent but not overdoing it is what I truly believe in. And it's been awesome working with Simone and a lot of you for the last 2 years. It's going to be 2 years coming up, so that's really cool. And hopefully, you know, going forward with a lot of the athletes, I'll be taking care of all of you too.
All right. So I am going to start pretty much what my main part of this call is going to be, is really just breaking down the importance of the general nutrition, the macronutrients, explaining what some of this stuff does for us. And then when Steph comes back on, she will go more specific into athlete training and what the importance of the pre and post workout aspect is. So pretty much majority of us, I would say, know the general macronutrients. You know, we have micronutrients that are our vitamins, our minerals, but then the macronutrients are what we worry about on a regular basis. You know, those are your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats. All macronutrients have some form of calorie, and pretty much calorie is what gives us energy and allows us to function on a regular basis. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about carbs. You know, if anybody do like to get people involved a little bit. So if anybody knows, if you can type it into the group chat, how many calories come in a gram of carbohydrates. If anybody wants to throw some answers in there, I'm going to start kind of talking a little bit about what carbs do, see if anybody gets the right answer. Hopefully some of you know already. But pretty much what carbs are is your fuel. It helps with your recovery. It helps you fuel for not just working out, but for everyday life. You know, carbs are probably one of the most important macronutrients because it allows you to perform optimally on a regular basis. Unfortunately, when it comes to carbs and when it comes to people that are trying to lose weight, they typically, the first thing they do is they cut out carbs. And maybe, yeah, they see some really great results. But the problem is when you cut too many carbs out, pretty much what happens is you just losing a lot of water weight. It's not body fat, it's not actual weight. So that's why when they see such a great difference, then all of a sudden they incorporate that slice of pizza or that extra slice of bread, they typically see their weight start fluctuating and going back up. So it's important to make sure that you are incorporating carbs in your diet. We just need to better understand what the right kinds of carbs are. So something called the glycemic index that some of you may be familiar with, some of you may not be, but the glycemic index basically rates carbs by how it will affect your insulin or your blood sugar. When you consume carbs, you increase your blood sugar and your body releases insulin. When you're constantly at a spiked blood sugar, your body is constantly releasing insulin. This is the biggest issue with diabetics, depending on what if you have type 1 or type 2. But when it comes to insulin, if you're constantly high sugar, blood sugar, high insulin, your body is never going to be able to burn the calories that you're consuming. You're going to be constantly in a more of like a fat storing mode, rather than a fat burning mode. So the glycemic index is really great because it rates these kinds of carbs from lowest to highest, lowest being ones that will not affect you, will not affect that insulin spike as much, and as the higher ones being ones that would cause a higher increase in insulin, a higher increase in blood sugar. It's very normal to increase your blood sugar. It will happen no matter what, but it needs to be moderated, and it can't be constantly happening throughout the day where your body ends up just storing everything because it doesn't have anything anywhere else to go. So the good thing though with glycemic index is the ones that you don't really need to know exactly where the foods are on there. You just have to know that the real whole food, good quality foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, those are all lower on the glycemic index because those are the foods that you should be eating anyway. When it comes to like the crackers and chips and cakes and cookies and all those things, those are obviously we know they have a lot of sugar in them. They're going to increase your blood sugar, which increases insulin. So those are going to be the foods that are also higher on the glycemic index. The other way that carbs are broken down are some are simple, some are complex. They have a lot to do also with the kind of carbs you eat during training, which Steph will talk about a little later. But pretty much a simple carb is something that you're going to digest pretty quickly. So something like maybe a piece of fruit, you'll digest a little quicker than a complex carb that would be like a whole grain pasta that will digest a little slower. So you have your good and your bad one, especially when it comes to energy wise. You need something quick and fast. You do want to have a simple carb so you absorb it quicker. But when it comes to maybe knowing like you're having lunch and you're going to have a nice 5-hour window before you get to your next meal, it is better to have something like a complex carb, oatmeal, whole grains, that sweet potato, well, any potatoes in general, that will digest at a slower rate to keep you full longer. And since nobody guessed how many calories are in carbs, it is 4. So I know some of you know that. I know, Kathy, you should know that.
Matt, you should know that too. Come on, dude.
But it's okay. All right, so I'm going to ask again now, protein. If anyone knows how many calories per gram, please throw it into the chat. But while we are trying to do that, I will start talking a little more about protein. Protein is probably one of the most common things that everybody talks about, especially when it comes to training and athlete training, adult training. Everyone talks protein, 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 and it's important. That's your building block. It helps recover after a workout. It helps rebuild muscle tissue. It actually also has the highest thermic effect on the body, meaning you burn more calories digesting protein than any other macronutrient. Proteins are extremely important, and everybody has their own variations of proteins they like. It does not always have to be coming from a white piece of chicken, excuse me, or fish all the time. The best thing though is if you do eat a variety of different kind of proteins, it helps with you getting a variety of other vitamins and nutrients that you may not get if you're constantly eating the same thing. The body likes variety, basically. So if you can provide it with variety, I know some people get picky, but if you can put variety into the diet, your body reacts very well to things like that. Some people get concerned when it comes to like vegetarians and vegans. I think the biggest concern with that is, yes, Ed, good job. You got caught ahead though. We have facts on the next slide, but yes, good job, Ed. But yeah, when it comes to the vegetarians and vegans, I think people are concerned that they need a lot more protein than they actually do. They definitely do, and especially the athletes need more protein because of what they're doing to their bodies and how much they're breaking down their muscle tissue, and due to what kind of sports they're actually playing. You do need a good amount of protein, but being a vegetarian and vegan does not mean that you can't get enough protein. There's a lot of really good plant-based vegan protein powders that is a great source for you to get a good quality of protein in that serving. There's a lot of vegetables that actually have more protein in them than you would actually think. And then there's always the other options like tofu and tempeh. You know, I listed a couple right there, like chickpeas and lentils. You know, I'm not huge on soy products, so you want to be careful putting too much soy, replacing everything with like a soy product. But in general, as a vegetarian, if any of you are, and there's many athletes that are strictly vegan that still are able to get the protein amounts that they need to protect their body from the training that they're currently doing. All right, so something else coming in. So when it comes to fats, you know, it's 9 calories. Thank you, Ed. 9 calories per gram. So when you think about that, that is more than double what the other 2 macronutrients are. That is why it is very important to be careful of serving sizes, because a very small amount of a fat will give you a lot of calories. For some of us, we need more calories. I think most of us undereat. I think that's more of an issue than people that are overeating. But serving sizes does come into play when you look at fats. Fats are another source of fuel. It helps fuel your body. It helps keep you full for a longer period of time. Fats also help your body absorb more nutrients. So it is important to be incorporating them. The biggest thing I would say is fats do not make you fat. Too many calories and maybe not enough movement can cause you to gain weight. But the biggest conception is that dietary fats equals body fat, which is not true. You know, just like carbs, there's good fats, there's bad fats. On here, I have like the good, the bad, the ugly. You know, we want to have lots of the goods. We want to limit some of the bads, and we want to try to remove completely the ugly. The unsaturated fats are the ones that we want to be incorporating the most. And that's in like the oils that we're using in nuts and seeds, in an all natural nut butter. It's important to look for things like that. Read the label, make sure that there aren't other things in peanut butter. It really should, or any nut butter, it should really just be the nut, maybe a little bit of salt. Fish is a really great source of healthy fats. When it comes to saturated fats, they're not necessarily bad for you, but they are foods that you do want to limit. You know, this is going to be like your beef, your pork, some dark meat chicken will have some of these saturated fats, high fat dairy, cheese, dairy and cheese, packaged foods, those kinds of things will also have saturated fats. So I'm not saying that you remove them, but they are things that you do want to use sporadically. You know, you don't want to be eating red meat every single day, and you don't need to be eating high fat dairy products. As you get older also, I truly believe that the body just does not digest dairy the same way it did when you were younger. So it's important to limit some of those foods. And then when it comes to the ugly, the trans fats, you want to avoid trans fat at all costs. Trans fat isn't even a real fat. It was made to be, actually read in the book, it was actually made to be used as candle wax, but the person that found that out also realized that it extended shelf life. So a lot of these packaged foods that you can keep on your shelf, keep in your cabinet for months and years, most likely have trans fats in them. And it is right on the label. The other the other sad thing is, unfortunately, if it says 0 trans fat, if something has less than 0.5 grams, of trans fat in it, they can legally put 0 grams of trans fat on the label. So make sure you're reading labels, make sure you're keeping that stuff in mind, because there are a lot of loopholes when it comes to how food is regulated. All right, now I'm gonna pass it over to Steph. She's gonna go talk a little more about athlete nutrition, and just overall recovery. Take it away, Steph.
And guys, if you have any questions, like we both said, you can answer it in the chat. If you want to unmute and be like, hey, and interrupt me, that's totally fine with me as well. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, growing up as an athlete, I played soccer and softball. So finding out about nutrition and really getting into the depth of nutrition, it's really important for us to understand what we need to fuel our body before and after our workout, and what the importance of muscle recovery is for like a long-term aspect. If you're looking to build muscle, if you're looking to lose weight, it's important to fuel our bodies the right way and not so much the wrong way. In order for us to understand that, for how our muscles react afterwards, after our training, it breaks down during a session. So our muscle will deplete. So we need fuel in order for us, well, food for fuel rather, for recovery. So after a workout, typically between a window of 30 to 60 minutes, you want to replenish your body with help of carbs and protein. I will go over afterwards, obviously, the meals that you can have pre and post. A lot of times I get a lot of people that come in and train here, what should I eat before I work out? I don't want to feel full when I work out. And I don't want to, there's a lot of different things that you guys may not know about. So with the right amount of, say, carbs to help replenish the glycogen to promote and boost your energy levels, that's the goal for the most part after your training. And recovery wise, taking your time, I actually put photos up on this slide so you can see, recovery wise, how do you know if you're getting enough recovery? Do you feel more depleted after your workout? Do you feel like, a lot of muscle soreness and you're not, being able to get up in the morning the next day? Obviously, you feel good after you work out and you feel sore, you did something. But once your immunity starts weakening, which has happened to me a couple of times, I realized, hey, I'm not getting the recovery that I should be. And now it's affecting my everyday life. I get sick and then it goes into a spiral. You feel more fatigued. So it's important to say,
you don't even want to train anymore.
Yeah,
You're not feeling it.
You don't feel good afterwards. And obviously on the side, getting enough sleep is very important. I'm not gonna lie, I don't get enough sleep as much as the average person, but 7 to 9 hours a night is optimal for recovery of your muscle. Having a good amount of protein in your diet, drinking a lot of water. A lot of times, I'm not accusing any of you, but a lot of times not a lot of people are drinking a lot of water throughout the day, and having whole foods in there,
including us.
Yeah, including us.
We're not great at
I'm at like 3 bottles of water today, which is not entirely the best. And stretching, Simone is really good with the stretch therapy aspect. I don't stretch at all, and I should. And that's obviously to help with improving your recovery. And when to recover, like I said earlier, 30 to 60 minutes is optimal to that window. If you go past it because you have to go to work, you're not going to break down your muscle tissue as much as the next person would. But for optimal result, that would be that window frame. If you go past 2 hours, you just want to have a good amount of food in your diet.
It's better to have something than nothing, pretty much.
Cool.
Even if it is a little late.
And here we go. So pre and post workout, I put a little chart on the side where you guys can see, hopefully all of you can see it, but pre-workout, there's different meals that I put there for pre and post. What should you eat is a common question before and after, and what's going to help me optimize my performance during training. A good simple carb, something that you're going to digest really fast, is very important, and you don't have to really overdose on protein and sugar pre-workout. A lot of times people want to have a full course meal, and that's okay if it's 3 hours before your workout. You don't want to have that within like a 30 to 60 minute window. I'm gonna have a full course meal at Applebee's or something and then come to train and wondering why you feel absolutely disgusting when you come in here. But having a good balance, trying to avoid the rich and like greasy type of foods before you come in and train. Just remembering what Simone said, carbs are fuel. So whether it's like a banana, whether it's any type of fruit, oatmeal is also a good option to have. Maybe between like a 1 to 3 hour window would be your best bet before you work out or before you come and train. And obviously like a healthier fat, like, an almond butter, like a peanut butter, again, with labels and knowing how to read them, try to look for stuff that doesn't have a lot of like high oil or anything. Just try to look for the ingredients list to be very short, especially with peanut butter. A lot of times they'll put a lot of sugar in it, a lot of additives in there where it's not even necessary. And for post, that's when you want to add more protein. It helps build and repair your muscle tissue. And throughout this whole process of breaking it down throughout your training, you want to be able to replenish. And doing so, you can have a protein shake. We'll talk about supplements going forward, which I'm pretty good at, knowledgeable wise, because I used to work at GNC and Vitamin Shop for 5 years. If all of you didn't even know that. But
she's a supplement.
I'm the supplement person. So for me, obviously, anything that you have, whether it's, a lot of protein, a lot of carbs, anything, if you have a lot of surplus, is going to essentially affect you. So nothing's really good or bad. If you have a surplus amount of protein, you obviously will be affected in a not so much positive way. So you want to be very balanced when it comes to like a post-workout shake. Typically, sometimes if you guys like yogurt, Greek yogurt is an option with berries, anything that you find where it won't fill you up totally completely. That's why, depending on the day that you come and work out. Typically for me, before I started working here, I used to work out in the morning and I would make a protein shake, but more of a breakfast smoothie rather than just protein and water, because I would never enjoy that. But having a good amount of everything, that way, fiber, good complex carbs and protein, that way the muscle that you just, deteriorated throughout your workout, you're replenishing with the good. And typically I would say that would be like an hour after your workout, after your training. If you come from here at 6 p.m., you're obviously going to come home and you're going to eat a good carb, a good fat, and a good protein. I kind of look at a plate and say, hey, I'm going to have a cup of rice, maybe 4 to 6 ounces of a meat and vegetables. Definitely focus on micronutrients just as much as macronutrients. I feel like a lot of times people get away from the micronutrient aspect. They'll just, okay, I'm gonna have protein and a carb and then I'm gonna call it there. But having a good source of greens in your diet will allow the nutrients to digest better, and you'll obviously feel a lot better in doing so. And as far as convenience, as an athlete, you're running and you're on the go a lot. Me and Simone actually created like a grab and go guide. So if you ever were interested in seeing that, you could always let us know at the end. But for me personally, in high school and in college, there was a lot of times I didn't have time to meal prep, and a lot of you work. So it's a lot harder to kind of, be on top of your diet and your training at the same time. It's easy to come in and train for an hour, but coming home and you're like, I have to work in an hour. What am I supposed to do? And, subconsciously, I'm going to just go grab something from, Panera or Dunkin' Donuts or whatever the case is, something that's more convenient. Try to package your stuff the day before. It's as hard, it's easier said than done. Sometimes I'm a very big advocate of saying something and not really doing it as much. And, coming here for all day, Simone's been here all day, and sometimes Tuesday and Thursdays I'm here all day. It's harder for us to find the time to really meal prep, but we, essentially try our best to do so. And yeah, so for me, coming up with ideas like, all right, I'm going to just grab, turkey that I cooked from the day before and put it on like whole grain wrap, and then, avocado and something that'll fill me up. That way I don't feel the need to kind of just go around and try to find things to fill me up.
Meal prep is key.
Meal prep is key. Obviously with athletes and with the adults that are on the call too, hydration is very important. And a lot of times, we'll get questions of, how much water should we be drinking in a day? Not a lot of times. For me growing up, I didn't know. I just drank like maybe a glass or 2 a day, and I thought that was fine. But taking your body weight in pounds and multiplying by 2, that's the amount of water that you should be intaking in a day. For me personally, it's probably under a gallon, which I try to drink, and it's as easier said than it is done. And 12 ounces per hour of exercise. A lot of you train here for an hour, so you just be adding 12 ounces. And a lot of times, you won't feel thirsty throughout your workout, and we are at fault of that. You don't really think about water. You kind of want to just get through the entire workout. And that's why we ask, like, hey, grab some water. And you're like, no, I don't really want to. But throughout your workout, you're sweating out everything. So all the hydration that you've had before the workout, you're losing fluid as you go. So you may not feel thirsty, but your body's like, please help me. Give me water. Give me something that will replenish my muscle. I would say maybe take like a sip of water, like 15 to 20 minutes, like at a time, like kind of have like that window, like, hey, I'm going to drink like a bottle of water before I eat something.
I always tell my clients, like, you're not leaving the gym until your water bottle is empty. That's always a good way to look at it. Like a regular size water.
Kathy's shaking.
You bring a gallon in there. I'm not, yeah, she knows. You bring a gallon in here, I'm not making you stay here till you finish your gallon, but that's a good way to kind of look at it. You're here for an hour, you finish that 16-ounce bottle of water that you brought in.
Exactly.
Or you don't leave.
And even so, like with the athletes, with Gatorade being promoted, Powerade, there's a lot of things that you want to avoid pre and post. You don't obviously want to intake a lot of calories before you come into the gym and after. You don't want to have too much fluids. I'm not really a fan of drinking my calories anymore. I used to, because that's how I was living my life. And there's obviously different alternatives to Gatorade to help with electrolytes. Coconut water is a very good option. Liquid IV, one of our clients, Mel, she drinks that probably every single day.
Yeah, she hooked me on that.
And it's pretty good. Like, it just overall, you feel more hydrated. And when you come in and weigh yourself on an in-body, you want to be hydrated in order for your muscle and your fat and your overall weight not to fluctuate as much. And I feel like that's been helping me. It's probably been helping you too. But my clients, that I've had them switch over, and even if it's like one packet a day, the difference is crazy from like your hydration level and how optimal it is to replenish with electrolytes. And even with like amino acids, I'm very big on certain supplements, but not all of them. And for me, having a high amount of sugar in a Gatorade, there is a lot of sodium to help you get through the workout. And that's why a lot of times sports, athletes and all of them, they drink Gatorade all the time, and they'll advertise it on like the Super Bowl and anything, but having too much of it, will cause, like, say, internal cramping. It'll be a short boost of energy and then you'll just deplete afterwards. And we want to avoid that. And I feel like there's a lot of different alternatives to doing so. And an example, can you share an example of calculation of
Or so
water?
you would just basically, whatever your body weight is, times it by 2, and whatever number that is, you just drink. You wouldn't want to aim for that in ounces, pretty much. And then if you're working out,
In ounces, okay. So
Yeah.
it's in ounces.
Yeah, sorry, it doesn't say that, but yes, in ounces. And
Low calorie Gatorade's better. I feel like I am a person that will go into a 7-Eleven, and if that's my option, maybe I'll grab like a Gatorade Zero. I know I have 3 younger brothers and they're all baseball athletes, and I try to switch them over from Gatorade, just regular Gatorade, to Gatorade Zero. And then from that, going into the next slide about supplements, BCAAs, branched chain amino acids really do replace the Gatorade because it will give you the hydration, and a lot of products will have coconut water in them or coconut based thing, an ingredient to help with overall replenishment of that muscle tissue. So
I would say they're better, but there's also better options out there.
yeah,
But if that's what you have the option of, like, better than nothing.
better than
This is also, especially, I mean, in my personal opinion, not to cut you off, is, those kinds of supplement, those kinds of hydration sources like the Gatorade would probably benefit an athlete a lot more than it would for an adult. Athletes, their bodies go through a lot more, their training is a lot more, especially athletes that train outside in the brutal heat. The football players, they may need something like a low sugar Gatorade, a low calorie Gatorade, just because of the amount they're sweating and the amount of energy they're exerting.
Because you're also taking out the sodium that's in your body too, so you want to replenish sodium. And overall, I mean, there's different alternatives to everything, but that's also a good point.
The reason why I asked, because my calculation is so weird. So, for example, I did 135 times 2, right? Plus 12. Okay, so here I am. 135 times 2 plus 12. I have 282 ounces. I convert everything to liters, so it's easier for me. Times 30 per each ounce. So I have 8.46. So I'm supposed to drink 8 liters a day. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear
Yeah.
you. Some Steph's calculating
I'm
it.
calculating it for you.
So 135.
8
times-
liters is a lot. I mean, it's not.
It's definitely a lot.
That's why it makes no sense to me.
Maybe divided by 2. So 135 divided by 2.
7 ounces of water.
Yeah.
So is that around?
Because I'm drinking my water.
Yeah, I would say like probably if you
Just an hour and multiply.
yeah, I would say instead of multiplying, probably it would be division rather than multiplication. But for you, maybe if like 135, it showed what, 67 ounces or
67.5.
yeah,
ounces.
so
Say again?
like 67.5 ounces if you divide it.
Oh, so after I came up with 282 ounces, which is double, right?
Yeah, so you would take 135 and then divide it by 2 instead.
Oh, divided by 2. Okay, so let me see how that it plays out.
And see that.
Essentia is a really great water, Kathy. I always promote that one. It has a lot of
Yeah, that's 2 liters.
electrolytes, and it what was I going to say? It has a lot of electrolytes, and it's a very good pH water, which helps reduce a lot of the acidity that's in our bodies from whether stress or the foods we're eating, alcohol, sugars. So drinks, waters like Essentia are great for that.
Really good.
One fun fact, not fun, it's a sad fact, unfortunately, like all these, is I actually read this study, or saw this like YouTube study on them checking the pH balance of certain waters, and smart water is known to be like the best of the best to help reduce acidity. It's supposed to be a high pH, and it's actually came out as an extremely acidic water. So probably one that we don't want to incorporate as much.
Yeah, cool. That was awesome. Thanks for the questions, everybody. And then going into supplements, there's a lot of misconception in the market of supplements. For me personally, obviously from working in GNC for 4 years, and then before I came to Varsity, I also actually worked at Vitamin Shop. I kind of hopped the ship and went over there for a little bit. But as far as like the importance goes for an athlete, or even as an adult, it's important not to have too many supplements. We kind of find ourselves going into a store and feeling super lost. And a lot of times, a lot of customers that I used to have, they're like, hey, I don't know what to take. And we'll find ourselves trying to grab everything, thinking that an overload of supplements is going to make us, the perfect human being. But for me, just whey protein, a good, source of glutamine. I have a powder that I put into my protein. Bcaas, like I said, is an alternative to Gatorade. It has more benefit to it. If you think, an amino acid you could find in anything, really, like meat, dairy, whatever the case is, even in a whey protein powder. But those branched chain, there's 3 of them that we don't really produce as much in our bodies. So when we do input them into our bodies, it will increase, our metabolism and a little bit. It's not like excessive, but it may, you boost your energy level. You may feel a little bit more recovered than you're used to because you're having more amino acids in your body. For me, we have Garden of Life here. It's a really good company. I take their multivitamin as well. That's another important supplement to take along with fish oil. But we have magnesium downstairs, I believe.
I think we ran out, but we can easily get it.
Yeah. So if you guys have the Facebook group and you're in that Facebook group, I actually put out a post about magnesium, because there's a lot of times where, there's different sources and forms of a vitamin that you don't even know which one to take. So if you ever have any questions in regards to supplements, I'm more than happy to answer them. I gotten lucky to learn that side of nutrition while also the general nutrition side and, the athletic nutrition side. And, recommending, a lot of times people will take pre-workout. I am not going to lie, I take it probably every single day. It's not necessary. If you need a caffeine boost, a lot of times people will, have an espresso before they come and work out. It's probably the cleanest way to do something. Not so much, one of these, but in general, trying to find
At 7 o'clock at
at
night.
7 o'clock at night. But you'll probably see me with one in my hand every single day if you've see me or train with me in any type of way. That's just something that I choose to do. It's probably not the healthiest. It isn't the healthiest, but if you're looking for a boost of energy, there's a lot of options like L-arginine. L-citrulline helps with blood flow. So you may just need like an overall, spike of energy, and that might be the natural way of going about it because there are amino acids to help with regulating your blood flow. Caffeine has a tendency to restrict blood flow. So having too much will obviously, you're going to end up crashing midway, which is what I do every single day. And then
eating the right kinds of foods is a great way of fueling yourself. Just making sure you're balancing out your diet. That's a perfect way to incorporate your own natural pre-workout, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. Is it better to take plant-based or animal-based protein? It just depends on the person. For me, I try my best to stay away from like heavy whey protein or whey concentrate. You'll find a lot in stores if you ever paid attention. There's different forms of whey protein also. So there's isolate, there's hydrolyzed, and there's concentrated. Hydrolyzed is probably the cleanest of them all. It'll break down a lot faster in your body. If you're a vegan, vegetarian, that's obviously the plant-based protein option is the best bet that you can go with. If you're lactose intolerant, trying to find a protein powder that's lactose free, that's what helps me. There's a brand called NutriBio, which I could put in the chat. Their protein's probably the best tasting I've ever had, and it doesn't make me feel bloated after training, which, you know, I have a tendency to bloat taking a lot of dairy overall, because when I did lose the weight that I lost, I fell into the trap of, hey, you got to cut out dairy, which I did for a year and a half, and now it's harder for me to absorb dairy. Even though as we get older, it's harder for us to absorb dairy in general, but I kind of, you know, cut the cord a little bit too early, so I can't really have as much as the average person probably can. But I would say overall, even with the essential amino acids, Vega 1 has a vegan-based amino acid powder, and they all usually are flavored, so they're not, I mean, there is unflavored BCAAs, but I like sweet stuff.
No, my question is like more, if you are, I mean, if you are not vegan, if you are just, you eat everything, you eat meat, everything, is it better to take the whey protein, or is it better to take the plant protein? Are you missing any essential amino acids? Because I was reading that if you do take the plant, you're missing some essential amino acids.
You may be missing some, but it wouldn't be relevant enough for you to make it like that, be the decision.
Yeah.
That make it be how you choose. I think it's more so a preference and how your body reacts. I bloat from whey protein, so I prefer plant, but not everybody feels that way when it comes to whey. A lot of people choose a whey protein because they can't stand the graininess of a plant protein.
Yeah, like the
You're
texture.
getting the protein source that you need. It's just coming from a different source. The only thing to be aware is if you are like counting your protein and worried about how much you're getting, typically a plant-based protein will have less protein per scoop. So you may have to double it or 1.5 scoops or something like that. But I don't think it's relevant enough to let that be the decision that you don't try a
Yeah,
plant.
so if you don't have a preference for vegan or not vegan, you can possibly like even mix them, right? And use a little bit of each.
Yeah, I mean,
I would probably just use one or the other, but like I wouldn't put like a
Both at
scoop
the
of
same
whey and
time.
a scoop of plant in.
No,
the
I understand. You don't
but
want to
if you do,
double up,
like,
you know, I
one
get
day
it.
plant-based, one day whey. The plant-based really, it's just typically most people don't love the graininess.
I don't.
But I use a Garden of Life one. I like a
Yeah, I love the chocolate
and
flavor too. I was
Sun
just
Warrior
wondering,
is actually
like
one of my favorite plant-based. No,
I've always used that one, and I was wondering, is it like better to mix it up once in a while, like have 2 different powders?
I would say
Not double up. I mean, like,
yeah.
one day you do one, the other day you do the other. Like, I guess.
For me, what I've learned, you know, obviously in the time frame, is to take a supplement probably 4 to 8 weeks and then try to switch it up. If it still works for you, you know, continue it. But if you want to switch it up, I'd say try to stay consistent for like 4 to 8 weeks on that product, because you don't know if it's going to work for you and you start switching, you know, way too fast and your body's like, all right, I don't know which one is better for me, and vice versa. And even with plant-based proteins, you want to find a good source, because a lot of times it's soy protein, and like we were saying earlier, having too much soy will spike your estrogen levels a little too high, so we want to avoid that as much as possible, especially for women. We already have enough that we're, you know, producing, that we don't need to excessively intake. And we can fall into that trap as like if you're vegan or vegetarian and you don't really know, you know, the baseline of nutrition, people will find themselves like overdoing it on soy. And
it's like read labels. You got to read labels. You have to read what's actually in it, because, you know, a protein powder that doesn't have much flavor in it, or a vanilla, there really shouldn't be too many ingredients.
Yeah.
Like if there are, they should be like the BCAAs and I'm gonna put some of the ones that you were talking about. You know, they should be the ones that are incorporating the glutamine or the BCAAs or the other vitamins, not the preservatives. And the thing I think when
clean powder. I'm not talking about the junk that you can buy.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just throwing something else out there. But, you know, as far as like the athletes, you know, some of these kids, they go into a vitamin shop, they don't know the difference between anything. They see like a bright and shiny blue box that looks really cool, and they buy it because it's cheap. And typically those are the ones that have all the crap in them. So it's really important to, like, you know, do your research, or, you know, speak to one of us about it, especially the athletes, and, you know, speak to some of these people at Vitamin Shop. You know, obviously she has a lot more knowledge in it, but there are some people that it's just a job for them. So they don't really know what they're talking about either. You know, the cheapest, brightest ones are not always the right ones for most people. And I think that the biggest issue is with that is when the kids go in on their own to purchase supplements.
Yeah, we fall into that trap of trying to find, what everybody else is taking,
Yeah. Everyone takes C4, so you gotta take
Yeah,
C4.
gotta take
It's like the worst
C4.
pre-workout you could possibly take is C4.
And, a lot of times, even with creatine, that's a big topic, especially I've been seeing now. It kind of fluctuates every other year where it'll start coming up again. I personally, I was on creatine for a little bit. You have to be very on top of it, from what I've learned, even, with switching products and stuff like that. That's why, sticking to something for 4 to 8 weeks is very important, because you don't know how your body's going to react to something else, and you're not giving your body enough time to really have it work in that aspect. You still got to work and you still got to do nutrition. These things are just supplements. They're not magical, potions that you can just take and then you'll be jacked,
And creatine severely dehydrates you. So if you're not aware of that, and you're not upping your water intake and being on top of it, it could end up just hurting you over
You'll cramp
helping you.
very,
You will cramp
very
very
bad.
poorly. Yeah,
Very bad.
very bad.
Awesome. And I put 3 brands in the chat that you guys can look into. NutriBio is obviously one that I've been taking for a long time. Alani Nu looks feminine, but it's not, I promise. But there's a lot of, misconception with the packaging looking a little too feminine, and guys are like, I can't be taking that. I love their products. There's a lot of products that they have that are vegan, and their ingredients list is very, short and to the point. If you are one of the ladies, for hormone imbalances, we kind of go through that all the time. They have a really good product for that, and it's completely vegan. I was on it for 8 weeks, and I felt like, a new person after taking it, on staying on top of my training and my diet as well. And Garden of Life is obviously going to be one that I'll recommend till the day I die, probably. But it's overall a really good one that you can find at any given store. I had a question, somebody.
Nico, we're gonna mail it out. We're gonna send out the recording too by the end of the week, so it's okay. Thanks for letting us know.
Thanks
You
for
gotta
letting
go.
us know. I don't even remember what I was saying.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But yeah.
Garden of Life, you're gonna promote for the rest of your
Yeah,
life.
probably for the rest of my life. And staying on top of, taking everything. You don't want to overdo it. There's simple, ways to kind of go about taking supplements. And like I said, if you have any questions about that, feel free to let me know. If there's another brand that you want me to look into, I've done that before as well. Please let me know. I'm definitely here to help with anything. So that's it.
Yeah, guys, so I'm going to just finish off with just I've said this in a lot of my talks that a lot of you have participated in. I say it during the 6-week challenge. Just a couple tips to just start this healthier lifestyle if you are someone that is maybe new to this or just wanting to get going right away. I think the most important thing is writing things down. You write it down, you're more likely to do it. It's like a to-do list. We always have food logs, and you're all welcome to use the food logs if you'd like for us to check up on you. But what I always say, especially in the beginning, or if maybe you're just kind of stuck and need a little help, is get 2 food logs. One food log is going to be what you plan on doing for the next few days. The other food log will be what you actually do. But hopefully, because now it's been written down, you will follow what's written down. Planning ahead is key. And I, like Steph and both of us has said, it doesn't always work out that way. It's not always going to be that easy, but at least having an idea of what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be eating, when you're going to be able to, know that, I wanted to make you need fruit for snacks and you don't have any, making sure that you're planning ahead and going to get the snacks, the fruits, writing down a couple go-tos that work for you. Setting up a schedule is the best to create better habits. Everybody had a schedule today at 6 o'clock. Steph and I knew at 6 o'clock we had to be on this call. You guys wanted to be on this call. You're waking up tomorrow at some point, going to school, going to work, a schedule, or come here. So, or all of the above, doing all of that. But setting a schedule is the best way to create better habits. Writing it down, getting a planner, or just knowing what your schedule needs to be. And if it's a hectic day, you're going to have to take a couple extra minutes at the end of the night to plan out that morning, whether it's preparing your breakfast in advance or picking out what you're going to wear, whatever it is. Keeping a U cabinet is something I've always said. I love my family. They're not the best eaters. It's been very hard. Growing up, we were obviously good because of the diabetes, unfortunately, but they like to have some of those snacks. And I found that the best way for me to be able to avoid snacking constantly was having a me cabinet and having an area in the kitchen where it's like my go-to snacks, my healthier choices. I also had a drawer in the refrigerator where it was like my go-to things that need to be refrigerated. So it wasn't like looking around for something. I designated a spot for me. That's what it was. You know, you're not always going to be able to eat your whole family's never going to eat what you want to be eating. Sometimes that makes it a lot harder. So having that designated area. And then nighttime snacking, you know, I used to hear about it a lot more from a lot of clients. I haven't heard that that's been as much of an issue, but I know it is an issue for some people. A couple little tips would be to first get out of the kitchen, get away from the kitchen. You know, I always say, like, try to find a little routine you do at night. Like if you have a favorite show, you know, and you have a foam roller, get into like a 10-minute routine on the foam roller, or a stretch of anything really. Something that keeps your hands busy, so you're not going into the kitchen and snacking, really staying away from the kitchen. And one thing that I found that works really great is go and brush your teeth, because once you brush your teeth and you have that minty flavor, everything is nothing's going to taste good at that point. And you also probably don't want to have to go to brush your teeth again. But yeah, I mean, that's really all we got for you guys today.
Thanks, Ed. He said thanks for
informative meeting. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, I really hope you guys learned a little bit from this. I hope you guys got some stuff out of this. We'd be happy to sit down with anybody who would be interested in a consult. I'm going to put in an email that goes directly to me. For any of you who don't know, all emails pretty much go directly to me.
And everything else.
So if you guys are interested in sitting down and getting a little more involved in something specific for you, or maybe just trying to just talk out what you're currently doing, maybe we can give you some pointers. Definitely feel free to reach us at the email. You know, if we have any of the athletes still on here, or parents of any of the athletes, I also left the link for our open enrollment that starts next week. Monday afternoon starts our spring block. So if they haven't signed up already, definitely recommend you guys get set up for that, so that we make sure you get into the class. But I mean, if anyone has any other questions, you just let me know. I mean, you can either say it out loud, you can write it in the group chat, but otherwise, that's all we got for you guys tonight.
Everybody good?
Got a lot, I have to say. You go home and rest.
Yes.
Been up forever.
I'll be back right in the morning.
Right in the
you.
morning. Right in the morning.
Telling you guys need
6 a.m. I'll be back here.
We're gonna actually sleep in the conference room upstairs.
Yeah, I have a massage
We have
table
she has a bed.
You need to put a little couch up there.
I know.
Kathy's just shaking her head. Why are you shaking your
I'll
head?
see you at 6 in the morning, Kathy.
No, Kathy, she's shaking her head.
Because I'm going to see both of you at 6
Yeah,
a.m.
you're gonna
Yes.
see me.
Yes, you
Yeah,
are.
yes, you
You're gonna
are.
see a good chunk of the people that are on here.
Except for Chris and Carrie, they're like 10 a.m. peeps.
All right. See you in the morning. Thank you.
All right, guys.
All
Thank
right,
you.
guys, thanks for joining us. Have a good one.
Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'll see you at 6.
Oh,
See you.
yeah. See you.